Thank you too for joining us, and Cecilia, thank you for letting us show this film. I I guess I just wanted to get started with talking about. Sorry, I'm just laughing at myself because yeah, okay. I wanted to hear about when you first met Halyna and how this project got started. So Cecilia, let's start with you.
Yeah, so we shot Labor in 2017. It's been almost 5 years, which is crazy to think. But I met Halyna. I was looking for a cinematographer, and I had been interviewing a lot of different people, but I just couldn't find the right person. And then her name came up from like someone recommended her. I didn't know her. I had never heard of her, but someone recommended her name, and I looked her up. I looked at her work, really liked it, and I emailed her. Just cold emailed, like, I'm making my thesis film. I'm at UCLA. I'm looking for a DP. And in the matter of like 10 minutes, she had already texted me on my phone, which she had found, I guess, my number at the bottom of my email. And she was like, hey, it's Halyna, let's talk. I'm interested. And I loved that. Like, she like just took like initiative, like she was in, like she was so ready to go, which I felt like this is a good omen. And then I met with her, and yeah, she was just, first of all, I felt like very similar to her, because she was also an immigrant in the United States, and a female, cinematographer in this very male dominated industry. So I felt like we had so much in common. And then it came up like randomly that she was a friend of Patricia, which was a good friend of mine. They knew each other. And so Patricia kindly worked on our set as their second camera assistant, which was great. So yeah, so then Halyna and I started working on the film for a very intense 2 months. It was during the summer, and she was just incredibly dedicated, and was really making sure that everything was like perfect down to the detail. And it was a wonderful experience. Yeah. So
Great. Patricia, when did you first meet Halyna?
So Halyna was one of the first people I met when I came to LA in the summer of 2015 to start the production directing MFA at UCLA, which is also where Chachi studied in the year above me. And I knew through a friend of mine who is a female editor in Portugal. She had a camera assistant friend called Nadia here in LA, who's also Portuguese, and she knew Halyna. So she was like, oh, well, you're new in LA, you're going to need some friends. And like, Halyna's one of the coolest people I know. So, I mean, Halyna pretty much like, took me under her wing and was like, hey, let's go to this bar. Let's go to this cafe. Let's go to this restaurant. Like, she always knew where the best party was at. And she loved a good cocktail. She loved good food, good music. I mean, some of the best nights I had in LA was thanks to Halyna. She was like the life and soul of the party when she got on the dance floor. It was, yeah, she was super fun.
Yeah, that's great.
And it was so interesting because when I met her, we had our first meeting, me and her, and I had no idea she had a kid, because also she was like so young looking, and it would never even cross my mind that she had a child. And it came up like at the very end of our meeting, and I was in shock. I was like, wow, I can't believe you managed to balance your professional life with a family. And so I was in awe. And yeah, and she has continued to be an inspiration, not only because of her talent, but also her ability to have both, to be a mom, but also to be a very successful cinematographer in this crazy industry. So yeah.
Yeah, and I wanted to read a quote that I actually pulled from the Labor Facebook page. I'm assuming this was put up right after her passing. Labor would have never been made without the talent and passion of Halyna Hutchins, her outstanding attention to detail and her care. We will miss you so much, and your legacy lives through the beautiful images you crafted through so much joy, hard work, and sacrifice. We love you. And I so touching, first of all, and I can't even imagine. And I thought, we could talk a little bit about Halyna and her style, and working with her for labor, and her attention to detail, the way she crafted and elevated the story of this woman, and I yeah. So I don't know who wants to kick that off, but maybe Cecilia, you can start.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I think it was important for me to have a female DP for this project because of just like the nuances in the story and what the story was about, and it was a very obviously female-driven story. So I wasn't only interviewing women, but I was very, very happy when I decided to go for Halyna, because I knew that she would have brought that extra just feminine like sensibility to the story, which she really did with her attention to detail and the elegance. She had a very clear sense of like each frame was so planned in advance, and we went to the locations together before shooting so many times, and I am the same. Like, I want to have as much planned as possible, and we kind of had already like all of our shots before we even started shooting, because we knew exactly what we wanted. And we worked really well also with our production designer, Hogan Lee, who was incredible. And he and Halyna immediately sort of connected and became really good collaborators, because you never know. It's always like when you bring together different people, it doesn't always work out the way you wanted, but instead, with the two of them, it was just immediate. And she also brought in a lot of great collaborators on her own end, like the gaffer, Sebastian, and also the grip. She had like her own crew that she brought to different sets, and they all really, really respected her, and they all loved her, and she was just, leading. She was a great leader also with her team. And and I think that what I liked about the process was that really she was giving her 100% like the whole time. And I was a very nervous director because it was my thesis film. I felt like there was so much pressure on me to make it good, and but she never made me feel like I was too needy or too worried or too, not at all. She just had the same exact, like, she was just so devoted to it, which I thought was incredible. And so I was not surprised, because after the short, she kind of stopped making shorts and just went into the feature world. And I wasn't surprised. I knew that she was going to, continue growing and going higher and higher. But Patricia can speak more about the technical day-to-day on set with Halyna.
So as the AC, I can say that we did do extensive camera tests, because maybe Chechi can confirm. I think we did use Halyna's camera, because I think she had her own Alexa.
She had her own Alexa Mini, yeah.
And then we used vintage lenses.
Yeah, she really loved these anamorphic vintage lenses that she got especially for the project. Yeah, which were very special, but also very tricky, as Patricia can say,
because they had a very shallow depth of field.
Yes.
But, Halyna's the sort of DP that she pays attention to those technical details, and that's why we did very extensive camera tests with each lens, so that she knew exactly on the day what she wanted to use and why. And I do remember that, obviously Halyna's a professional, and she had graduated from AFI, I think, many years before. But every now and then, like, a student who was helping out would have a question, and she would always be super patient. Like, there was no such thing as like a stupid question.
No.
you know. And that's true. I do remember like the crew just really loving and appreciating her, and her. I think that's when she was her happiest. If it wasn't on the dance floor, it was on set. That was like always the place that she wanted to be. If she could choose anywhere to be, I think it was on set.
It was, yeah, she enjoyed it so much and had this great energy. Like even when things got stressful, she always had a smile on her face and like just had the right attitude. She never created like the negativity or the insecurity. You know, sometimes those things can happen too on a set, but she really set a good tone for everyone. It was a demanding shoot. It was definitely a very demanding shoot. We had so many locations. We shot it in like 3 days. So it was a lot. And we had the bus, we had the hospital scenes, we had this crazy chicken place where they were slaughtering chickens. But even then, like, yeah, she was super, she just like every location, like she was so hands-on on also choosing the locations. And I took her to so many other locations that like when we were location scouting, and she was the one who wanted that hospital location, which I thought was great. And but yeah, so very hands-on, very attentive to detail, and just great attitude on set. So I really only have good memories of that experience.
Yeah, that's great. And I sorry. Oh, okay. I was just going to say one of my favorite bits of the short is the end shot. When you know the way that is panning on the bus, and then you just see her and her son in the back. And I mean, I don't know if you could talk about that specific scene and working with Halyna on that, because I thought it was beautiful just how you bring all these people on the bus with her. And so I don't know if you could talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, Patricia remembers it. It was a very demanding scene. It was a really hot day, August or early September in Los Angeles. And it was a continuous shot because we followed her in to the bus, and then the bus had to start going, and then we pulled back with the camera. Or maybe there was 2 shots, I can't remember. But in any case, that long pull back with the camera was very tricky for the focus, especially because, like Patricia was saying, those lenses have a very shallow depth of field, and it was very, very tricky to keep the mom and the son in focus. So it took us many tries, because then it had to be timed with the bus leaving, and it was not an easy scene production wise. But I think we did like 10 takes. But what do you remember, Patricia? Were you traumatized by
Well, I was the second camera assistant, so I mean, I wasn't the one pulling focus.
I know, yeah.
But I think it came out super well. And and it is, to be fair, like those vintage lenses were very beautiful,
Yeah,
but also very challenging.
very challenging.
But I think you and Halyna knew how to make the best of them.
Yes. Yeah, no, she did great. And then she helped me a lot also, like in the post-production like phase. And I was looking for a colorist, and she helped me like choose the right colorist, and was very, very hands-on also figuring out how to how to work on the color correction. And we had to do some corrections for the focus, because sometimes, you know, because of those lenses, some things were not fully in focus, but we were able to correct that in post. So yeah, she was just so hands-on from beginning to the end. And brought so much attention to detail and just passion and talent.
Yeah. And I do have a question. Well, before I dive into my next question, I was wondering if there were any specific memories you had with her that you'd like to share, either on set or just, maybe outside of set, just hanging out, dancing or something.
Yeah, I mean, she was like that. Like, she was super professional on set, but then, she was ready to party, like Patricia said, like, work hard, party hard. She had this like infectious energy. I have a really good memory of us with Patricia. We were like still in pre-production of my short, and we went to the beach one time. It was like a UCLA, one of those gatherings, and Halyna came with us, and we just like spent the day at the beach and then went out for dinner. And she was, just like a fun person to hang out. And so I have like a lot of memories, not just on set, but also, outside of set. And our, like, the wrap party, it was like all the women from the crew and the cast, we all went out. And she was just making it all really fun. And so, I think that also what I really remember of her on set was that even in the most stressful times, and even like, it happens on set sometimes, you like get frustrated, and you get frustrated at the AD, or, and even in those moments of frustration, I remember like looking at her, and there was always like in her eyes just a lot of heart. And she, even if everything was going crazy, she was, frustrated about that, then she would look at you, and you would find that place of like, okay, there's this very strong human connection that she just naturally had, and it's what made her special, I think. So that's really what I remember. Just, yeah.
I mean, I think definitely on set, you always felt that Halyna really cared about what she did.
Yeah.
Like very much so, like all her heart was in it. And the fact that like even during post-production, she showed up.
Yeah, she did.
Which most DPs
don't.
Right. Especially if it's just a paycheck for them.
Absolutely. She definitely showed up. Sorry.
Like it was never just a paycheck for her, like ever.
No.
She was super, super passionate about what she did. And I think probably the fondest memories I have of Halyna are the fun nights out. Like for the rap party, we went to Floridita.
Yeah.
We were very drunk. It was very fun. She was the first one to take me to Harvell's in Santa Monica. She loved Harvell's. She loved the burlesque show there. And like a New Year's Eve that we had, and my mother and my sister came from Lisbon, and she took us all to Zanzibar.
Oh, wow.
Paid for drinks for everyone all night. Like she was just super fun, super generous. You knew that if you were with Halyna, you were going to have a good time.
Yeah, no doubt. And she would always say, our next project has to be in Italy, which is where I'm from. And she really wanted to come shoot something in Italy. That was really her dream. And we talked about it many times and never materialized. But yeah, that was the plan.
That's great. And yeah, I mean, I do want to talk about, like, based on the tragic thing that happened to her, what are your hopes for the industry? Like, I mean, it does seem like there was an awareness, like people need to start cleaning up their sets, like pay more attention. Like, what are your hopes for change because of what happened? Yeah.
Well, I think that, there was a petition that was started called the Halyna's Law, which I haven't checked lately, but I don't know where they are. I know that they collected a lot of signatures, but basically it was a law making sure that there wouldn't ever be real firearms on sets anymore, which to me seems to make perfect sense. And I think I would love to see that. Honestly, I don't think we need real guns on like movie sets. There's so many other ways to do it visual effects or, you know, like there's so many other ways to do it. I haven't personally worked with guns a lot. It's not something I put in a lot of my films, but, you know, I understand that there's some stories that require them, and I just think we don't need real ones. So I really am hoping for that. And then, I mean, both Patricia and I have worked extensively in the indie world, and we all know how chaotic things can get. And we all know how when the budget is low, you have to be able to, you know, you have to cut some corners, but the most important thing is to not cut them when it's about safety. I mean, you know, the more I read about that, the more I read about that set, the more I'm just like, I cannot believe how incredibly messy and unprofessional the whole thing was. But, you know, I wasn't there, so I can't. But anyway, there needs to be more awareness also about just treating people humanly and not neglecting their safety. Yeah, it's a hard job being on set for 12 plus hours every day. It's not like a 9 to 5, as we all know. So
yeah, and I mean, I think that like coming from the indie world, that's one thing that you can never scrimp on, is like your crew safety.
Yeah.
Like that's got to be number one, no matter how small your budget is. And I mean, like, to quote Trevor Noah, because he spoke about it on his show, he was like, if you don't have enough money in your budget to hire proper armor, then maybe you have no business having guns in your film.
right. Yeah, absolutely.
This is a question I always ask directors when I interview them, but this I guess will pertain to Halyna as well. What do you hope people see in her work? I mean, obviously, as a person, she had a lot of heart, and you see in Labor the love as well, just with the cinematography. I mean, yeah, I don't know if you have any thoughts about what you hope people see looking back at the work she had done. So,
well, I think just like I think her talent was really finding what are the most interesting shots that we can do in this specific location, and thinking, like, anyone who watches their films, I think, can see that there was a lot of thought put into how to stage a shot. And like, for example, one of my favorite shots in Labor is the one where she's going through the MRI machine. The actress is in the MRI machine. And that shot was like the last scene of the shoot. So we were exhausted. It was like late in the evening, and we had planned it very, very carefully. And we had like a fake MRI machine. It wasn't real. Hogan Lee, the production designer, built this incredibly realistic looking MRI machine. And Halyna had all these ideas of like, okay, we do one shot from the top, one shot from inside the machine. And it was all so carefully planned. And even like the production designer had made some models, like smaller size models that we you know, used to plan the shots. And she was like super hands-on into that. Just everything was carefully curated. And I think people can see that from like the color of the walls. She made Hogan repaint the bathroom. Well, there's a bathroom scene where the kid comes in and sees the mom pregnant in their apartment. Those walls were not that color, and we only had that very quick shot. It was like a 5-second shot. But Halyna was like, we need to paint those walls. That color is horrible. Let's repaint it. And the production designer was like, absolutely, we need to. And I was like, guys, are you sure? Like, it's just, you know, it's such a quick scene. I don't know if we need to, like, you know, and they were like, yes, no, we need to. And they were right, you know. So everything has been carefully thought, like, you know, put a lot of thought into. So hopefully people will notice that in her work.
Yeah, definitely. That's what I would like people to notice. Is her love of light, her love of color, her attention to detail, to composition. Her framing was always very precise.
Yeah.
I think she was an artist. I think that's what people, I hope people will see when they look at her work.
Agreed.
So we are coming to the end of time for this Q&A, but I feel like I just wish I had, I mean, she just seems like an amazing person to know, you know, and I just love hearing the stories about working with her and how particular she was with filming and just the story. And, you know, I don't know if there's anything additional you can share about your relationship with her, or, you know, her work before we close up.
I think we would be remiss if we didn't give a shout out to her incredibly supportive husband, Matt, who always encouraged her to, like, you know, follow your career. I mean, she was also a very good mother and like adored her son, but she managed to find that work-life balance beautifully. And I do think Matt was instrumental, because he was always very supportive of her and very proud of her and everything that she did.
Absolutely. Well said, Patricia.
It's great. Yeah, I mean, I don't have any more questions except for the fact I'm so glad that you two came and let us, you know, screen labor, because you know, in a sense, it's a labor of love, right? I mean, and I think what that film is very special, and what Halyna, you know, added to that film, you know, is very special. And yeah, I'm just so grateful.
No, thank you. I think, you know, it was a great opportunity to talk about her, because it's part of also, you know, our mourning process, and it's been quite shocking and traumatizing. So having the ability to talk about her is important to us. So thank you.
Okay, great.
Thank you very much for organizing this.
Yeah, I mean, we've been trying to do it all year, right?
I know.
we finally got it together.
Thank you so much.
Katie, did you want to come up for any last thoughts about what's coming up today? I think she's coming up. Maybe not. Well, okay, I'll just, oh, here she is. Okay.
Hi. Thank you both so much. Yeah, for today's schedule, for anyone who can stick around, we have the second screening of Short Block 3.